Hi, welcome back to my channel. So we are going to do some granny squares, but we're not going to do your regular run-of-the-mill granny squares. I'm also using, I'll show you, these come in balls. I turn them into cakes, so they do come in balls. I'm using a baby velvet for this granny square. I'm going to make a whole pile of granny squares. I'm not going to do it on camera. This one is Misty Green, this color here. And this one here is Milky Blue. So those are the two colors that I'm going to use to show you the granny square. So I'm going to make a blanket for my grandson. I have one cooking in the oven right now, and I've got one that's about 9 months old. So I'm going to start with the green. I'm going to use, this calls for 5mm, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, a 5mm hook, but I'm going to use a 4.5. So we're going to start with a slip knot, or magic ring. So in this magic ring, and I know how difficult this is probably going to be, you're going to put 3 double crochets. Especially with the velvet, it's not that easy to work with. So 3 double crochets, chain 2. And you're going to repeat that 3 more times. 3 double crochets, chain 2, three double crochets, chain 2, and last time 3 double crochets, chain 2. Pull your circle closed, and then you're going to slip stitch. This is the first double crochet that we did. Just go into the top of that chain and slip stitch. So I've got 4 corners. I've got these chain 2, chain 2, chain 2, and chain 2. So I got 4 corners. So after your slip stitch, you're going to chain 2. You're going to put a double crochet into this first stitch, then into this big space you're going to put a double crochet, you're going to put another double crochet, putting 4 in here all together. So there's 2 double crochets in the same space. You're going to chain 2 because this is your corner. You're going to put 2 more double crochets in that same space. So you got 4 in there all together with a chain 2. Then you can put a double crochet in the next 2 stitches leading up to your next corner, 1 in each, which is not a typical granny square would have you putting 3 in each of these spaces, but I'm just doing 1. So now we're back to our next big space. You're going to put 2 double crochets. You're going to chain 2 and put 2 more double crochets, all in the same space. And then double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're at our next corner, so 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets in the same space. Double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, back to your corner, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So that is the pattern that we're going to be doing. So I'm back around to where I started, and I want to switch my colors now. So I'm going to switch to blue. So I'm just going to kind of do a stripey thing. Number of different ways that you can switch this. Don't really want this to be noticeable at the back. So I don't want to tie a knot. I don't want to do a slip knot. I don't want to do any of that. I just want the transition between, because front and back, baby's going to be using both front and back. So I just want the transition to be nice and smooth. I'm just going to take my piece, I'm going to just loop it around my finger like that, and I'm just going to hold it here. So when I go in here to do the slip stitch, I'm going to grab this instead of the green, which is just hanging, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. At this point I'm going to have to pull the green tight to tighten everything up. So I pull the green just to make it nice and tight, grab my blue, pull my blue, so now everything's down nice and tight. With my new color, I'm going to chain 2. So you're going to have to weave in your green and your blue tail, but in the next round I'm going to show you how to do it differently, where you don't have to weave in 2 tails. So your next stitch, because our corner's over here now, so we got a couple of stitches, you're just going to do a double crochet, weaving in your ends, just 1 double crochet. Sorry, I'm just making sure I've got both my, the next stitch is going to get a double crochet, making sure I'm getting all my ends in there. Now my corner, I'm going to put 2 double crochets in that corner. I'm going to chain 2 to keep it a corner, and then in the same space still I'm going to put 2 double crochets. So I'm still weaving in my ends just for safety reasons. This velvet does come undone really easily, so double crochet in the next stitch. If you're not using the velvet and you're just using regular, you could probably cut it off by now, but double crochet in the next stitch. So just double crochet all along your stitches until you get back to your next corner. Just single each stitch. So now where you started in this row is not going to have the same amount of stitches, because you're going to have stitches here that you haven't counted yet. So don't be concerned, you haven't screwed anything up. So now we're at our corner, we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So at this point I'm safe, I think, enough to cut my green off. That way I can show you how to reattach the green when I'm ready. So now I'm not weaving anymore. But see, my green tail's already trying to pop through. So double crochet back over to your next one in each stitch, over to your next corner. And we get to the next corner, we're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets. Double crochet in each stitch to your next corner, but before we get to our next corner, I'm going to show you how to change colors again. So before I get back around here where I changed my last color, I first want to weave in, because I don't want to weave in 2 pieces every single time. So I'm going to start weaving in my green. I'm still using the blue, but I'm going to start weaving in my green. So I'm just going to hold my green at the back of my work. And I'm still going to do the exact same thing with the blue, but I'm going to make sure that I'm weaving in that piece of green. So now I'm at my corner. I'm going to do two double crochets, still weaving in my green, chain 2, 2 more double crochets, still weaving in my green, still weaving in my green. Now there's a stitch before, so put a double crochet in that stitch before your end. Now I'm going to switch colors. So when my green's already there, so I'm going to drop my blue, I'm going to pick up my green, so when I come in to do my slip stitch at the top of that chain, I'm going to now grab my green to do the slip stitch with, and my chain 2. So now I'm going to pick up the blue and I'm just going to weave in that one piece of blue. It's way easier to do it that way than to try to hold on to the 2 pieces. So that's how you change colors if you're changing colors. You're going to double crochet, up to your corner. Ooh, I almost lost it. It's slippery. It is slippery, this stuff, but it's so great on the finished piece. Now I'm back at my corner. I'm still weaving in my blue. I'm going to put 2 double crochets into my corner, chain 2, two double crochets into my corner. Still weaving in my blue. You could probably cut yours off anytime along here, but because mine is velvet, I wait a little bit longer. So double crochet in each stitch back over to your other corner, just 1 in each stitch. Oops, I don't know what I did there. Let me try that again. I think I sucked some of my blue through. So you can count your stitches along here, here, and here. But counting them along here, you're going to have to do when you get there, because this is not going to be accurate because you started kind of in the middle. So 2 double crochets, so you're in the corner now. Chain 2. 2 more double crochets. So this is the easiest granny square to make. There are plenty of granny squares. The old school granny square would have you putting 6 stitches in this corner and then 3 stitches along each stitch across. That's the old school way. This is a much more pleasant looking, I'm going to cut my blue off. This is a much more pleasant looking blanket, doing it this way. Not so many holes, and just easier looking on the eyes. It's not so 70-ish orange and brown blanket kind of a granny square. It's more aesthetically pleasing. So 1 double crochet in each stitch to get back to your corner, and then it's 2 double crochets. Chain 2 and 2 double crochets. So that's how you do a granny square. So you can do a number of things with this. You can make each individual squares as big as you want, and then you can sew them all together. I will show you here in a bit how to put them together. I have another blanket I'm doing with different colors, but I mean it's the same idea. Multiple different ways to put these together, but I'm going to show you one anyway. And or you can do one great big giant, you can just keep going and do one great big blanket of just one granny square. Just keep growing in size, which is way easier, which is what I'm doing with this one. I'm not making individual squares. That's why I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to show you how to make the granny square, but I'm making this one great big granny square. So that's what I'm going to show you with the other blanket I'm doing is individual squares that I'm making for my in-laws. They're individual squares that I'm sewing together. So I will finish here. I'm not changing colors yet. Okay, I'm going to go get my other blanket, and then I'm going to show you how they go together. But this is the, I mean, other than these can be cut off, because this is velvet, if they're close together, I actually like to tie them in a knot. It's just added security. It's just one knot, not a double knot. A really tight, as tight as you can get with velvet. And then I like to just cut it off near the knot that I did. They will try to come undone. And then for the middle, I like to just, again, tie a knot. And then just cut it off at the knot. I pretty much weaving everything in, so I had nothing to tie that to, so I'm just gonna. So anyway, there's my my granny squares. So the only holes that you have are the corner holes. And I think it looks, you can't see my other holes on here, but I think it looks way better than a regular granny square. There, when I pick them up, you can see all the holes that you're going to get. You're just going to get holes here. So, it's going to be, sorry, my camera keeps shutting off sooner than it should be, but anyway, it's going to be those holes, if you can see them through my hands. So you're going to have a great big X, but a regular granny square has all, these are all holes, but I do mine differently, so that's what you're going to get. So I'm going to go get my other blanket and show you how to attach granny squares to other granny squares. Okay, so I have all these granny squares that I've made separately. This is more velvet stuff that I did. So I've got all these granny squares that are made, and now I just have to put them all together. So let me remove that, find the blanket. So I'm just going to show you one. It's just a little lap blanket for my in-laws. This is the one side of it. This is all sewn together. This is the one side of the blanket. And then this is the other side of the blanket. So you can see where I've sewn it together. You've got a bit of a raised edge, which is also aesthetically pleasing. It's not that bad. So I'm going to show you if I can get this all on camera. I'm going to show you how. So this is the purple that I'm using. So you just need to get your purple. I got to make sure I put my back to back, my front to front. So that's both my front. So I'm going to do this at the back. Put my ball somewhere. So I'm going to make a slip knot. I'm going to find a place to go in and attach it, which is generally corner to corner, just because it's easier to find your spot. Put your slip knot over your needle or your hook. Make sure it's tight. And I'm going to pull through. And I'm going to make a stitch. But this isn't not how you're going to put it together. So pull everything tight. Sorry, this is so hard to show you on camera. So you're going to try to go stitch for stitch. You're going to go into the stitch and you're going to make a slip stitch. Sorry, I'm at a bad angle. I can't even show you. So you're going to make a slip stitch, and that's how you're going to attach this all the way down. You're going to go into the next stitch, which I know you can't see the stitches because it's velvet. And you're going to do a slip stitch. And that's how you're going to do it all the way along. So it's very time consuming, especially when you're dealing with this velvet, because you can't see your stitches. You have to feel your way around. But that's all it is. It's just slip stitches all the way down. And then across, because not only do you attach it this way, you have to attach it this way with your next one, and then this way. So your next one's going to be here and here. So it's very time consuming. I mean, it's awesome once you're done it and it's a completed project and it's beautiful. And but to do what I'm doing for my boys, to do their blanket in a granny square, it's just one great big granny square, is probably the way to go, because this is very time consuming. Aesthetically, it is beautiful, but so I'm at my corner here. So I am not attaching anything to this other side. It's all going to be this way and down. So you just fasten off of this the way you fasten off everything. You just do a slip knot, which is what you've been doing anyway. And then you fasten off regular. And then I like to not weave this way. I like to go back into my stitches and weave where it's nice and tight. Oh, if I can get in there. Sorry, it's very hard to see. It's very hard to do on camera. So I'm going to weave all back along this edge, which isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be, because you certainly don't want your tail to come undone where you fastened off. So you don't have to go all the way back down. You can go part way and then cut it off. But there we have that sewn together. And then this is the exact same thing. You've made a slip knot, so you can weave it in up here, down here, but you're just going to do the same thing. I would not do another blanket. I'm doing another blanket for my father-in-law. This is for my mother-in-law. I'm doing another blanket for my father-in-law, but it's not going to be one you have to stitch together. It's going to be like I'm doing for my grandsons, one great big granny square. But at least, you know, you have options. But I just want to show you, these are pieces. The velvet pulls really easily too, so these are pieces that are now popped out that I can't do anything with, because I mean, I can cut them, but then this whole thing's going to start to unravel. So somehow that got pulled out. It's very easy to wreck your work when you're working with velvet, so that's my only problem with velvet. Other than that, and again, it's very pleasing to the eye. It's very nice to touch. So that's the other side. That's what we just did, is that. So that's the one side. You can't see the stitches at all. I should have actually used a separate color so that you could see that you can't see the stitches when you do that. But I didn't plan this video out. I just thought all of a sudden, hey, I should show you. And then that's the other side where you have a raised side, so you can use both sides. It turns out looking really nice. But you can YouTube different ways to attach your granny squares. But if you just do your granny squares like I just showed you, and then you just keep going and going and going and make one great big granny square, it's still going to be a beautiful blanket. And you're going to have this X shape and not a cajillion holes like you do a regular granny square. So that is that. So thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.